Now I'm going to talk about the things which are obligatory in fasting. Wajibatu sawm. The things which are obligatory in fasting. The scholars, they said, fasting, there isn't anything which are specifically wajib to it. Yani we don't say these things are wajib specifically to fasting. So the wajibat that are in Ramadan are wajibat which are also throughout the year. There's nothing specific for Ramadan, they say. But there are things which are haram. Muharramat. That Ramadan you have to be very careful. Number one, which is the muharramat. In other words, it's wajib for you to leave off. Is qawlu zuri wal amali bi muqtadahu. Stay away from lying. Stay away from lying. Some people, they lie in the month of Ramadan. Stay away from it. Al-Imam al-Bukhari narrated in his Sahih min hadith Abi Hurairah that the Prophet ﷺ said, مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَ الزُّورِ وَالْعَمَلَ بِهِ فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ أَنْ يَدَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. Whoever does not leave off lying, مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَ الزُّورِ, the person who doesn't leave off lying and acting in an ignorant way, Allah has no need. Allah doesn't want from you any fasting. The want here, the irada here is irada shar'iyya, not irada kawniyya. Irada shar'iyya. Meaning, what fasting are you fasting if you're lying and you're not holding back? ولذلك the scholars, they said, and the Salaf, they said, أهون الصيام, the easiest fasting is what? ترك الطعام والشراب, is to leave off food and drinking. That's the easiest fasting. To say, I'm not going to eat or drink. The real fasting is to stay away from the things Allah made haram from you. The second thing that we should stay away from, and it's obligatory for us to stay away from, is al-laghw wal-rafath. What does al-laghw wal-rafath mean? It means idle speech. It's not lying, but vulgar speech. Even when they speak, they're very vulgar in the way that they speak. And of course, sexual intercourse, which we're going to come to inshallah ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, لَيْسَ الصِّيَامُ مِنَ الْأَكْلِ وَالشُّرْبِ. The Prophet said, fasting is not staying away from only drinking and eating. وَإِنَّمَا الصِّيَامُ, but fasting is to stay away from مِنَ اللَّغْوِ وَالرَّفَثِ, to stay away from vulgar and idle speech. Then the Prophet said, فَإِنْ سَابَّكَ أَحَدٌ, if someone insults you and you are fasting, respond to them by saying, إِنِّي امْرُؤٌ صَائِمٌ, I am fasting. Meaning, don't engage with that person. Are we all together? You turn away from that person, you walk away, and you say, I'm fasting. Not that I am fasting, watch when Ramadan finishes, I'll deal with you. But I am fasting, meaning I don't go to that level. You respond with that. You say, I am fasting. لذلك subhanallah, I remember a situation where a brother had an altercation with another brother of his. And he said to him, I am fasting. And that brother said to me, Wallahi, the wake-up call that word had on me, and the way it affected me, that I was angry and I wanted to go out with my brother. And he responded by telling me, إِنِّي امْرُؤٌ صَائِمٌ, I'm fasting. He said, whatever response he could have ever given me, it would never have weighed as powerful as إِنِّي امْرُؤٌ صَائِمٌ, I'm fasting. So even the person you say that to will feel what you just said to him. Meaning Allah had told me to withhold from this, and I'm listening to my master, Allah Azza wa Jalla. It's a high level of servitude. May Allah make us from those slaves who adhere to this. Also the Prophet ﷺ, he said in a hadith, كَم مِّن صَائِمٍ لَيْسَ لَهُ مِن صِيَامِهِ إِلَّا الْجُوعِ. How many people are fasting and all that which they got from their fasting is hunger? وَكَم مِّن قَائِمٍ, how many people are standing up? لَيْسَ لَهُ مِن قِيَامِهِ إِلَّا السَّحَرِ. He has not received from his standing up, meaning prayer, only tiredness. What's the problem with these two people? They're fast. This one's fasting and this one is praying, but both of them have only left with either hunger or tiredness. The scholars, they said, because of these people have damaged their fasting or their qiyam with external problems, idle speech and other things. وَلِذَلِكَ some of the scholars even believe, like Ibrahim al-Nakha'i and others from the Salaf, they actually believed that the person's fasting will be null and void. Khalas. If you idle speech, vulgar, you say F word, this word, S word, L word, your fasting is gone. Some of the scholars believe that. Ibrahim al-Nakha'i and others. Lakin the hadith doesn't support them because the hadith said, Kam min sa'imin. How many people who are fasting? So the Prophet affirmed fasting for them, even that though he's telling them off of what they're doing. So they're still fasting and their fasting is valid, but it's problematic for you to do that. What were the two things I mentioned that you have to stay away from in terms of fasting? Yeah? So the first one is lying. Qawlu zur, which we said it's lying. And the second one is al-lagw wal-rafath, which we said is vulgar speech, idle speech, and all of that. What about if a person smokes in Ramadan? What's the ruling on that fasting? Is his fasting gone? Yeah, who thinks otherwise? But it's a sin. It's a sin, right? Well, we said that just now that the sin doesn't break your fasting. Does smoking break your fasting? Huh? Ay na'am, of course it breaks your fasting. Are we all together? It what? It breaks your fasting. Okay? And this is the consensus of our time regarding fasting being broken by smoking.